another pendulum that we might reflect on is, on one hand, you have these strong Christians in Corinth who are clinging to their rights to say, I'm not going to let anybody tell me what to do. It's just me and God. And as long as I worship God, I can do anything. Right? And Paul says, yeah, but you're not loving in that way. The other extreme might be someone who says, well, maybe it's just giving up rights. That's the point. What rights do I have to give up today? And Paul's not into that either. He's not preaching some sort of ancient asceticism, as if mere deprivation is somehow more holy and pure. You're not looking around and saying, oh, how can I just make myself more miserable today for the sake of depriving myself of these rights? No, actually, so Paul doesn't begin his day by asking, God, what rights do I have to give up today? He starts by asking, God, who are you calling me to love today? Who are you putting in my path? How are you calling me to be a witness to your good news today? And when you answer that question, what rights you might have to give up, they come more naturally. So for the church in Corinth, one of their rights was to eat whatever and whenever they want. And Paul says, yeah, you got to lay that down sometimes for the sake of love. For Paul, it was the right to receive his salary from the Corinthians. And he says, no, in this context, you're not ready for that. I'm going to lay that down. I was thinking a great example that comes to mind from Jesus himself was in the Gospel of Mark. He hears that one of his good friends, John the Baptist, was beheaded. And he's grieving about that. And so the very next scene is Jesus says to his disciples, come away to a lonely place to rest. He's going to grieve, to rest, and to process the death of his good friend John. He arrives to this lonely place, and there are 5,000 families who have showed up. They heard that Jesus was going through the mountains, and they find him. And then now there's just a hillside full of thousands of people. What does Jesus do? He could have clung to his rights and says, you know what, today was for me. Like this was my one day of vacation in this whole big ministry. And this is some me time. I'm not going to do anything for you today. But he doesn't do that. His heart breaks with compassion and he starts to teach them and he feeds the 5,000 that day. It's one of his most famous miracles. And so you can actually see that the disciples themselves are like, Jesus, I thought we were going to rest. And he says, no, but there's all of these hurting and hungry people. Of course, we're going to feed them. So Jesus models this same sort of laying down of your rights that Paul is modeling for us here. He's saying, no, in this case, yeah, I wanted some time alone, but there's so many people here that need my help. Of course, I'm going to lay down that right. So for us, it might be something along those lines to say, well, how am I called to self-sacrifice for the sake of loving this person in front of me? How am I called to maybe be more generous today with my time, my money, my resources? What are the ways that God, you're calling me to lay down some of my hard-earned rights for the sake of love? I see, as we end, I wanted to just walk us through a simple exercise, just to listen to the Spirit of God, to ask him, not the question, God, what rights do I have to lay down today, but who are you calling me to love?